What if I told you that a quarter you could find in your pocket? An old jar, a cash drawer, or even a box of coins might look unusual simply because there is no mint mark on it. And what if that tiny detail made you stop and wonder whether your 2017 United States quarter could actually be worth more than its face value? Today we are taking a very close look at the 2017 United States quarter shown in the photographs, including its missing-looking mint mark, its condition, possible damage, rarity, collector interest, and most importantly, the realistic market and auction, values that collectors should know about. But before you start thinking about huge dollar amounts, there is an important fact you need to understand. A 2017 quarter with no mint mark is not automatically a rare error. In fact, depending on the specific design, a missing mint mark can have a completely normal explanation. The real question is not simply where is the mint mark? The real question is, what exact 2017 quarter is this? Where should its mint mark be? And does the coin show evidence of a genuine mint error? That difference can completely change the story. And that is exactly what makes modern coins so interesting. Sometimes the most important clue is only a tiny letter, a tiny design feature, or an unusual surface characteristic that most people would never notice. So let's examine this 2017 quarter carefully and separate real numismatic facts from exaggerated internet claims. The coin we are looking at. The coin shown here is a 2017 United States quarter dollar from the America the Beautiful Quarters program. The obverse carries the familiar portrait of George Washington, while the reverse shown in the photograph features the Ellis Island National Monument design, with immigrants and the historic immigration station represented on the coin. The date 2017 can be seen at the bottom of the reverse. This is a modern U.S. quarter with a face value of 25 cents, and it is made from the standard copper nickel-clad composition used for circulating quarters. For example, PCGS lists the 2017 Ellis Island quarter as 2430 millimeters in diameter, 567 grams in weight, and composed of 75% copper and 25% nickel over a copper center. That means this is not a silver quarter simply because it looks silver. That is an extremely important point for anyone searching through modern American coins. The silvery appearance comes from the nickel outer layers. Inside, the coin contains a copper core. This is why a normal 2017 quarter should not be valued based on silver content. So if you find one of these coins, the interesting question is not how much silver is inside. Instead, collectors want to know whether there is something unusual about the date. Mint, strike, variety, error, or condition, the mystery of the missing mint mark. Now we come to the most interesting part of the coin shown in the photographs. There appears to be no visible mint mark. At first glance, that might sound extremely exciting. You may have heard stories about coins without mint marks selling for hundreds, thousands, or even tens of thousands of dollars. And there are genuine U.S. coins where a missing mint mark is an important error. But you cannot apply that rule to every coin. The United States Mint has used different mint mark policies throughout American coinage history. Philadelphia has historically produced coins without a mint mark, while coins from other facilities can carry letters such as D for Denver or S for San Francisco. PCGS explains that Philadelphia coins have often been identified by the absence of a mint mark, although the mint later adopted the P mark for many denominations. That history is critical. For a modern 2017 quarter, a collector should not automatically assume that the absence of a visible letter means an error. If this particular quarter is a Philadelphia issue, the absence of a mint mark can be completely normal. In other words, no mint mark and missing mint mark error are not automatically the same thing. That distinction could be the difference between a normal quarter worth around face value and a genuinely collectible mint error. Why the exact reverse design matters. There were multiple America the Beautiful quarter designs released during 2017. That means identifying the reverse is one of the first steps in evaluating a 2017 quarter. The coin pictured here appears to show the Ellis Island National Monument design. PCGS records the 2017 Ellis Island quarter as a Philadelphia issue with a reported mintage of 284 million pieces. Its documented auction record on the PCGS Coinfax page is 401 for an MS-68. Example sold on eBay in 2017. Now stop for a moment and think about what that number actually means. It does not mean that every 2017 Ellis Island quarter is worth 411. It does not mean that a circulated example from a pocket is automatically worth hundreds of dollars, and it certainly does not mean that every coin with no visible mint mark is a $411 error. The auction record belongs to a particular coin in a particular condition and grade. This is one of the biggest mistakes people make when researching valuable coins online. They find the highest auction result and assume their coin must have the same value. But coin collecting doesn't work that way. Condition can change everything. When collectors evaluate a coin, condition is one of the most important factors. Two coins can have exactly the same date and design, but have dramatically different values because one coin has been heavily circulated while the other has remained almost untouched since it was struck. Professional grading services use grades to describe a coin's condition. A heavily circulated quarter might show scratches, contact marks, flattened design details, discoloration, and wear across the highest points. A high-grade mint-state coin, by contrast, can retain much more original detail and surface quality. The coin shown in these photographs appears to have noticeable surface wear and marks. There are visible abrasions and discoloration, and the design is not in the pristine condition you would expect from a top-grade certified mint-state example. That is important when considering value. A coin can be historically interesting without being extremely valuable. A coin can be collectible without being rare. And a coin can be unusual without automatically being worth thousands of dollars. What about the damage? This is another area where collectors need to be extremely careful. The coin shown in the photographs has visible surface imperfections, but a surface imperfection is not automatically a mint error. There are two completely different possibilities. The first possibility is damage that happened after the coin left the mint. That could happen through circulation, contact with other coins, drops, scratches, cleaning, chemicals, environmental exposure, or countless other forms of handling. The second possibility is a genuine mint-made error or variety. A genuine mint error occurs during the manufacturing process. That distinction is extremely important. Imagine a coin leaving the mint perfectly, normally, and then spending years inside someone's pocket. If it receives a scratch during that time, that scratch is not a mint error. It is post-mint damage. Collectors generally do not pay major premiums for ordinary damage. On the other hand, if the unusual feature can be proven to have originated during striking or production, it can potentially become much more interesting. That is why experienced collectors don't simply look for something that appears strange. They ask, could the mint have created this feature? That is the question you should ask about this quarter. Could the missing mint mark be an error? This is where the story becomes especially interesting. If this coin is a Philadelphia issue that was intentionally struck without a mint mark, then there is nothing unusual about the missing letter. But suppose someone believes the coin should have carried a mint mark. Then the next step would be proving that the mint mark was actually omitted during production. That requires more than simply looking at a photograph. Collectors may examine the expected mint mark location, compare the coin with authenticated examples from the same issue, inspect the surrounding surface, and determine whether there is any evidence of alteration. This is important because someone can potentially remove or obscure a mint mark after the coin leaves the mint. A damaged or altered surface can sometimes make a mint mark difficult to see. Therefore, I can't see a mint mark is not enough evidence to call a coin a mint error. You need authentication. How rare is this 2017 quarter? Now let's answer the big question. Is the 2017 quarter itself rare? Generally speaking, the regular Philadelphia issues from this period were produced in very large quantities. The 2017 P. Ellis Island quarter, for example, has a reported mintage of 234 million coins. That is a huge number. So the normal coin is not rare simply because it is from 2017. However, rarity can exist at the condition level. This is where things become much more interesting. There may be enormous numbers of ordinary examples, while truly exceptional coins at very high grades can be much harder to find. Collectors sometimes call this a conditional rarity. The coin isn't rare in every condition. Instead, it becomes scarce when you demand a particular level of preservation. And that's exactly why some modern quarters can bring surprisingly strong prices even, though millions of examples were produced. The importance of high grades. Let's use documented market evidence. PCGS records a $411 auction result for a 2017 P. Ellis Island quarter graded MS-68. That gives us a real-world Example of how dramatically condition can affect a modern coin. But here's something even more important. That result does not establish a guaranteed current value for every MS-68 coin today. Auction prices can change. Different auction houses can produce different results. The coin certification, eye appeal, strike quality, surface preservation, timing, and buyer demand can all influence the final price. And an uncertified circulated example is an entirely different market. So if you're watching this video because you found a 2017 quarter in your change, don't immediately assume you have a $400 coin. Instead, inspect it carefully. What is the realistic value? Let's talk about dollars. A normal circulated 2017 quarter is generally a 25-cent coin in everyday spending value. Its collectible value can be higher depending on the exact issue, condition, variety, and demand. For comparison, NGC's published price information for the 2017 P. Ellis Island quarter shows relatively modest values across many circulated and lower mint state grades, while the very high grades can move substantially higher. That tells us something extremely important. The market does not treat every 2017 quarter equally. A heavily worn example can remain close to face value. A nicer example may be worth somewhat more to collectors, and an exceptional certified coin can potentially reach much higher levels. This is the difference between face value, collector value, and auction value. They are not the same thing. What could this specific coin be worth? Based solely on the photographs, I would not claim that this particular coin is worth hundreds or thousands of dollars. The visible wear and surface damage make it look much more like a circulated example than a pristine top-grade coin. The absence of an obvious mint mark also does not by itself prove an error. So the responsible approach is to treat the coin as a normal 2017 quarter unless additional evidence demonstrates otherwise. Its basic spending value is $0.25. Collector may potentially pay more depending on the exact variety and condition, but the photographs alone do not establish a rare mint error or an extraordinary auction value. This is actually good news for collectors because it gives us a realistic way to evaluate coins instead of chasing exaggerated online claims. Don't clean the coin. If you have a coin like this, there is one thing I strongly recommend you do not do. Do not clean it. Don't polish it. Don't scrub it with a toothbrush. Don't use metal polish. Don't use harsh chemicals. Don't try to make it shine. A coin's original surfaces are extremely important to collectors. Cleaning can leave scratches or unnatural surfaces that may permanently reduce its desirability. If you're hoping that your 2017 quarter might have collectible value, preservation is much better than aggressive cleaning. Keep it dry, handle it carefully by the edges, and avoid unnecessary rubbing. What should you look for? If you have your own 2017 quarter in front of you, start with the date, then identify the reverse design. After that, inspect the mint mark area carefully. Do not rely on your eyes alone if the coin is heavily worn. Use good lighting and magnification. Look for unusual doubling, unusual lettering, missing design elements, off-center striking, broad striking, die cracks, clips, major planche problems, or other features that appear to have been created during minting. But remember, minor scratches, dents, discoloration, flattened areas, and random marks are usually not enough to establish a valuable mint error. The bigger and more important the claimed error, the stronger the evidence should be. Why auction records are so important. One of the best ways to understand a coin's market is to examine documented auction results. Auction records show what someone actually paid for a particular coin under particular circumstances. For the 2017 P. Ellis Island quarter, PCGS records an MS-68 auction result of $411. This is much more useful than simply seeing an internet listing claiming that someone wants $10,000 for the same coin. Remember, an asking price is not necessarily a selling price. Someone can list a common quarter for $1 million. That doesn't make the coin worth $1 million. The real market is determined by what informed buyers are willing to pay. That is why auction records, professional grading information, and authenticated examples are so important. Why some modern quarters become valuable. People sometimes believe that only extremely old coins can be valuable. That's not true. Modern coins can become collectible for several reasons. A coin might have an unusually low mintage. It could have a rare variety. It could have a major mint error. It could have an unusual die characteristic, or it could survive in an exceptionally high grade. Modern coins are especially interesting because millions of them are produced, but relatively few may survive with truly exceptional surfaces. Think about what happens to a quarter after it leaves the mint. It gets dropped into bags. It gets transported. It gets loaded into machines. It gets handled by thousands of people. It gets mixed with other coins. It goes into pockets, cash registers, vending machines, coin jars, and bankrolls. All of that creates opportunities for scratches and contact marks. So even when millions of coins were produced, the number of examples that remain at the very highest grades can be dramatically smaller. The $411 question. Now let's return to that $411 auction record. Could your quarter be worth that amount? Possibly only if it meets the necessary characteristics and grade for a comparable market result. But a photograph showing a circulated coin with visible wear does not establish that. The documented $411 result belongs to a specific MS68 example. That is a very different condition category from the worn coin shown here. This is why professional grading matters. A grading company can authenticate the coin, evaluate its condition, and encapsulate it with a grade. But even then, certification does not guarantee a particular sale price. The market decides the final result. What about a $1,000 or $10,000 value? This is where I want collectors to be especially careful. If someone tells you that every 2017 quarter without a mint mark is worth $1,000, $5,000, or $10,000, don't accept that claim without evidence. Ask for the exact variety. Ask where the mint mark should be. Ask for authenticated examples. Ask for actual auction records. Ask whether the claimed price represents a completed sale or merely an online listing. And most importantly, ask whether the coin is actually a mint error. Without those answers, an enormous valuation is just speculation. A rare coin can hide in plain sight, and yet there is still a reason to inspect your change. Coin collecting is fascinating, precisely because ordinary-looking coins sometimes contain details that are easy to overlook. The 2017 quarter in front of us is a perfect example. At first glance, it is simply a modern quarter. But once you begin examining the date, reverse design, mint origin, surface condition, and possible errors, you discover that there is a lot more to learn. That is the real excitement of collecting. You aren't simply searching for a coin that looks old. You're searching for something that is different, identifiable, and supported by evidence. Final verdict. So what is the final verdict on this 2017 United States quarter? The coin is a modern copper-nickel clad quarter from the America the Beautiful series. The pictured reverse appears to be the Ellis Island National Monument design. The absence of an obvious mint mark does not automatically mean that the coin is a rare mint error. Mint error. The 2017 Ellis Island issue had a reported mintage of approximately 234 million, so the normal issue is not rare simply because it is a 2017 quarter. The coin shown here also has visible wear and surface damage, meaning it should not be compared directly with pristine, professionally graded MS68 examples. A documented MS68 example reached $411 at auction, but that figure is tied to that specific high-grade coin and should not be used as the value of every circulated 2017 quarter. So the realistic conclusion is this. If your 2017 quarter is a normal circulated example with no confirmed mint error, expect it to be worth around its 25-cent face value, with potentially modest collector value depending on the exact issue and condition. But if you discover a genuine, mint-made error or an exceptionally high-grade example, the story can become much more interesting. Final hook mir outro. So before you throw your next 2017 quarter into a vending machine, cash register, or coin jar, take a second look. Check the date, check the reverse, check the mint mark area. Look at the surfaces. Look for genuine mint-made abnormalities, not ordinary scratches and damage. And most importantly, don't let an exciting internet price convince you that your coin is rare without proof. Because in coin collecting, one tiny detail can completely change the story, but only when that detail is real. The quarter in this video may not be a secret fortune sitting in your pocket, but it demonstrates something every collector should. Remember, value is determined by rarity, condition, authenticity, and demand, not simply by how unusual a coin looks. And that is why the next quarter you receive could be worth taking a closer look at. That's a rule every new collector should remember. Now let's talk about the historical side one more time. The quarter you're holding represents a location that played a major role in America's immigration story. Millions of people came through the immigration system represented by Ellis Island. And now the location is preserved as a historic site. The quarter program transformed that history into a small collectible object that could circulate through the hands of ordinary Americans. That's something fascinating about United States coinage. Coins are not simply money. They can also act as miniature historical records. You can hold one and immediately see a date, a national symbol, a historical location, or an important person. And when collectors preserve these coins, they are preserving small pieces of history. That doesn't necessarily make them expensive, but it makes them meaningful. Now let's come back to the money. The documented MS-68 auction result is a useful benchmark because it proves that a high-grade 2017 P. Ellis Island quarter has attracted substantial collector interest. But again, the photographed coin is not comparable in grade. The safest conclusion for this particular example is that it should be treated as a circulated modern quarter, unless a specific variety or mint error can be demonstrated. That means we should not put a sensational $1 million price tag on it. And that's okay, because a good coin video doesn't need to claim that every coin is worth a fortune. The real story is often more interesting when we explain why one coin is valuable and another isn't. So if you have a 2017 quarter, don't ask only, how much is it worth? Instead ask, what exactly do I have? What mint produced it? Which reverse design is it? What condition is it in? Is the unusual feature genuine? Does it match a recognized error or variety? What are comparable coins actually selling for? Once you answer those questions, you can start discussing value. And that is how professional collectors think. Now imagine you're searching through a large pile of quarters. You find one from 2017. You check the reverse. It's Ellis Island. You flip it over. You don't see a mint mark. Your heart starts beating faster. You think you've found something huge. But instead of immediately announcing that it's a rare error, you stop. You check the issue. You compare examples. You inspect the surface. You check for wear. You determine whether the missing mark is normal for that particular coin. That moment of patience can save you from making a major mistake.